Don in London, hello. Get the words out. Friday, 22nd of March 2013. My videos all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol. My behaviour could be equally addictive around people, places and things. So not only addicted to a substance, alcohol. My name is Don, I'm an alcoholic and I'm in recovery, one day at a time. There were other addictions around work, relationships, things, collecting things, incessantly wanting the next right thing. And no amount of people, places and things seemed to fill the emptiness inside me, which was full of self-doubt, fear, ego, putting on a brave face, pride, you name it, all trying to cover up the emptiness. And that emptiness was simply love, not installed for some reason, not really understood at the end, always wanting and desiring to be loved, I guess, needing to be loved. And yet somehow I lost the plot. Somewhere along the way I never learned how to love very well. And that's nobody's fault, it's just the way it was. All the way back then, when I thought a lot of the ideas about relationships between men and women were counterproductive to love. It seemed to be about dominance and being a bad boy or exciting, and not about feelings at all. It was about how we looked, how we seemed to measure up in some way or other. So all sorts of confusions. And although I had never I won't go there. This is about addiction to a substance, alcohol. Being addicted to women, yes. Relationships, yes. Intimacy as far as I could. Intimacy in the emotional area, intimacy in the physical area was fun and wonderful. But I don't know how good I was at understanding the depth of where emotion is. Certainly not inside me. And that undid me in the end, through a lot of things. So alcohol, work, relationships could all undo me, and I needed a fix. So the most obvious fix for me was alcohol. Obliterate myself, put myself in a place of oblivion, and in the end hopefully not waking up after the last bout of drinking. I didn't know how to do it, how to get sober, and I needed help. So some professional people got me dry, and then they suggested maybe you might consider going to a fellowship which seems to know an awful lot about how to keep sober one day at a time. And that fellowship was and is Alcoholics Anonymous. And I share about how AA helps me, how it helped me understand there are 12 steps, 12 principles of living which will help me on a daily basis, depending on my life circumstances. But I don't represent AA, I never can, never will, because it's a fellowship of equals. There are no leaders, we are but trusted servants, working to help others into recovery. That's what we do. And then if we're lucky, we stay in recovery. If we're unfortunate, we may go out for another go, or another one, and another one. It depends how much research we need do, and we are still alive to find help. So AA is not the only way either, but it works pretty well for me, because it's about fellowship, how to love people, how to be loved back, and find useful things to do one day at a time, and for quite a lot of days in recovery, depending on what we end up doing with work and community and society. So how does AA do this for me? Well, by people sharing and people understanding what to do. I never speak for anybody in AA, and if you're in AA you know this. I cannot speak for you, must not, never. So I only speak about what I see, or what I can share from a personal point of view. I don't share your stuff, I don't share your name. So, what is AA? The AA preamble, shared at every meeting, it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. That's it. And I didn't even have that when I first got to AA. There are no dues or fees for AA membership, so if you haven't got any money, it doesn't matter. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with, but you can be. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. But you are allowed to be whatever you are, so you can be all of those things. You can belong to a sect if you wish, denomination, politics, organisation or political party, any organisation or institution, and you can engage in any controversy, endorse or oppose any causes. But that's not what AA is all about. You will hear all about other people's stuff, but that's their stuff and living. And that's how they share the way forward into sobriety, that life works with freedom and soberness. So our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that's what AA is there for. It's not to make you anything, but allow you to be yourself without a drink inside you. And without a drink inside us, we have an opportunity to understand our emotional and spiritual state, which is the ability to live life and feel it as it is and cope with it right now. And if we can't cope, we ask for help. And there's places all over where we can ask for help, depending on what the issue is. So we come out of isolation into inclusion, and we have to work at it. It's not a magic potion, and there's no magic spell. We have to work at it. So March 22nd, 2013, my reflections about higher powers and all the other stuff. In the old life, this is me particularly, we were on a war footing, causing us to fear life in general, use pride as a defence and our ego to cover up shame and guilt about whatever it is we got up to. In our new life, in recovery, we do not need a war footing. We can progress and be free, with courage to change, faith in doing the next right thing, and self-esteem growing as we develop our sober life. So it could be peace in our time today. And it doesn't mean we're not going to get undermined or shouted at. It means that even if we are undermined and shouted at, we can not retaliate. You know, it's not about being on a war footing. It's about, hang on a minute, what have I done to cause this impact on another person? It's not what have I done to deserve it, because we don't deserve to be shouted at. Other people may just not like what we are doing. But we can ask for help, and it can come from fellowship or anywhere, professional or anywhere. My road sweeper, the postman, people like that have a lot of wisdom, and if I engage with them, it's quite good, because they tell me lots of things about what I might want to do. They see people more than I do. Most of the time, courage to change, faith in doing the next right thing, and self-confidence grows because life is manageable today. I do not need to feel powerful over anything in order to live. With freedom to choose the next right step based on life as it is, rather than what I might want, the next right step feels good. And if I have opportunities today, so do other people, and sometimes we will work together, and sometimes we might be in competition in work or in other areas of our lives. In order that we are level-headed, courage, faith and confidence means we start on a level playing field with ourselves and our beliefs, and understand that sometimes other people will go forward and we can stand still. We need to gather our wits and abilities and be happy with what we have today. Life is not fair, and sometimes we may feel passed over, and then courage to change, faith in doing the next right thing, and confidence to change our outlook and direction can be the best way forward. We can always consult and ask for help to find the right path, one day at a time. And that's how it goes. You know, we sometimes are in competition, sometimes we are on the right path and we're making great strides forward, And sometimes other people are making even bigger strides forward. And we might wonder, hang on a minute, why are they going for that person? Well, you never know when it comes to how a boss sees you or the world. They may see another person as more controllable or malleable. They may see a person as more get up and go. It depends on the job you're in and the job you're going for. And do you have the right talent for it? Because don't forget, if there's nothing there to learn, why on earth are you going for that job? Is it just for the money? Or is it something else? Is it to provide more for family? Or is it something else? We don't know till we're actually in that discussion, and maybe having a discussion with a neutral person we know and trust. And that's also part of growing in recovery, finding the right people that we can know and trust. Because in recovery, even in fellowship, you'll find people who are detestable, and they're not so clever, and they're not so careful, and they're not so nice. Someone said stick with the winners, but you need to know what is a winner in recovery. Somebody who is sober, solid, trustworthy, has integrity, can be a person who can share wisdom, can be a person you can bounce ideas off. So it's not always the bright, shiny, get up and go people that you're looking for. You're looking for solid wisdom, and that doesn't always come with being bright, shiny and brash. Usually means they're hiding something still. Anyway, letting go my old life, the one which burnt me out, was as difficult as any addiction, because the way I burnt out was in my eyes very unfair and very prejudicial. How on earth did I get myself into a situation where I was at war with my boss and some of his cohorts? Looking back, it is very easy to see. I was suggesting an ethical code in an unethical environment. I was blinkered by my own values, open, honest, fair dealing and with integrity. Open, honest, fair dealing and integrity. And as much as I believed in my own values, the environment was utterly driven by unethical people. And the only thing which seemed to make sense to me at the end of all of this was the money that I was earning, which was quite good. But there was nothing in it. It was an emptiness beyond belief. I was blinkered by my own values, open, honest, fair dealing and integrity, and when I wasn't treated that way, it really hurt. And as much as I believed in my own values, the environment was driven by unethical people. They weren't good, by no means. They were not good at all. They didn't have to do anything. They just let me keep on plugging away at a whole organisation which could not adopt the values I held most and close to my heart, and were ethically right for that business. But in practice, it was highly unethical. In the last 12 months in that job put me in a clinical depression, and I didn't even know what that was, because I was too exhausted by then to make sense of anything. And far worse was to follow, and it did. Hugely horrible. It never occurred to me during that time that I ought to change direction, because I was right, so I was a righteous sod. And just being right doesn't mean you still fight and battle and put yourself at a war footing. Some wars aren't worth fighting. And I was broken on my own ethics and burnt out. The insanity of doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result, they do apply in this situation, as much as what happened some years later when I could not stop drinking and the real insanity of self-harm became addiction. So there are causes and effects. Some of my causes went back a long way, covering up, which is a great British trait. Put on a brave face, don't show anything. Don't tell the neighbours, don't tell the people at school, don't tell anything to anybody. It's our business. Which meant we had no other perspective. Anyway, starting a new life in sobriety, and all the elements of my emotional and spiritual and logical living had been completely lost in time. Pride, fear, ego kept me isolated, and into a place of homelessness and abject disillusionment. I had no clue what to do next. I was lost. When we have lost all notions of self-worth, and it is very hard to even think, let alone feel, that life is worth living, if it had not been for the fellowship of AA, I would never have understood that it was okay to be completely bankrupt as a human going concern, and then find people who had faced the same ordeals and desire never to wake up again. And yet, when I really encountered fellowship at the very end of my tether, from abject bankruptcy, that's where I was. People had learned how to live again, without any addiction, or rather, they had surrendered and said, I'm not at war with myself anymore. I accept I'm an addict and I need help. One day at a time they kept on saying this, and I repeat it many times here because it's true. If we can simply cope one day at a time, develop some courage through action, develop some faith by accepting there is support and we are willing to work at life again, then we do develop self-worth and self-esteem. And it's just for today. Does it need to be any more? Not really. It will take a long time for us to trust ourselves, let alone anyone else trusting us. And we need to accept that just because we are becoming sober, it still will take time for others to trust us today. So not only do we have to trust ourselves again, which is really difficult when everything's gone wrong, you know, fear, pride and ego come back very quick. So in my old life I became completely isolated, which is true. In my new life I'm surrounded by people who say they love me, and I don't underestimate how much I can be moved by what they say and what they do. So I can be overwhelmed and cry sometimes when people say they love me, because I've only just really started to learn what it is to love oneself. It is with gratitude and an open heart that I was able to accept that I had love inside me too. And it can grow again as life changes, and I can change. I needed to change, and this was very difficult because the world felt very hurtful in all respects. And I was always looking for the hammer to come down heavily on me in my early days because I had no value for myself. And still people befriended me in fellowship, no matter what I felt about myself. They put value on me as a human being. All I needed to do was join in, and it took a long time to thaw out. And it was completely okay to start from scratch. This is the thing, it's okay to start from scratch, not knowing anything, and start to learn everything again, accepting I had lost, and I also accepted I'd lost the plot completely, and to start learning what it is to be a feeling human being with feelings in the moment of now. The gnawing cold of isolation had kept me separate for years, and then the warmth of inclusion took a long time, as long as it takes in recovery to start feeling human again. So how am I feeling this morning? I just stopped writing for a moment, and what I remember now, and why I do these daily meditations, is mostly and always about the most important people in fellowship, newcomers and where they are in their early days. Somehow I feel it's important to let them know that it is okay to be completely baffled by life, and life stops working as it might, and there is little happiness or solace when we are completely under the sway of any addiction. There will be times as a newcomer when we persuade ourselves that the old life is better than the new life, because at least we can take the edge off and fix ourselves with a drink or whatever it might be. And believe you me, if you have an addiction to alcohol, you've probably got other addictions going on as well, or other addictions can spring up. As we push one down, another one sprouts up. It's like weeds in a garden. And then we remind ourselves that one drink will fix nothing, and 1,000 will never fill the emptiness inside, because there's something we haven't learned. We haven't learned how to be ourselves. Newcomers are the most important people in any fellowship group. We all learn as they learn, and I learned in my early days that the touch of human kindness, although somewhat repellent back then because I was frightened of it, it is human kindness. It is human kindness. That's a triumph, I think, with a very bad exhaust. Triumph. It's not Harley. It is human kindness which helps me become a free person once again. Human kindness is love in action. So love is an action, and everything is about action in our fellowship of recovery today. I feel good, and all we need is learning love just for today. And although I know that human kindness is the key, natural instincts which have been set at extreme levels for a long time can always become problematic for old-timers and newcomers alike. So when we're driven bonkers and mad and feel like there is something missing, that emptiness which gnaws away at the spirit, it's lack of love. And naturally we are built to have physical desire and wants depending on our orientation. Mine's girls, women, I say girls up to every age because I'm old now, but not young ones. But even so, the beauty of a person is not on the outside, it's what shines through that's important. And we only get to see that really when you really truly understand how to cherish people, which is not a natural physical desire, it's something else. It's the cherishing part, which I never really got to understand until my father pointed it out just before he died. So we can have problems with our physical and emotional desires, and in fellowship we need to be very careful of our motives. Sometimes we have to stop and start, and I hope I haven't lost my place too much, but I'm going back to my last paragraph. And although I know that human kindness is the key, which is why I just took that phone call, because people are important. They just are. So when the phone rings in the morning, I know it's important, because people know I don't answer the phone after midday, because I need my space as much as anything. Anyway, and although I know that human kindness is the key, natural instincts which have been set at extreme levels for a long time can always be problematic for old-timers and newcomers alike. So with anything that we've taken to extremes, like alcohol, other behaviour can be at extremes and we just don't know it, and we don't know when we're in balance and able to cope with new stuff and all the old stuff, desires and wants. We are human beings full of desires, and we obviously do not let go what is in our nature, and the extremes and the neediness can get in the way if we're not careful with ourselves and other people. And this is really important to me. We need to be careful with ourselves and other people around our natural instincts. If we are attracted and desire a person, it can be as natural as can be, because it is our nature. On many occasions, and this is true, I have felt attraction and desire as natural as anything, and that emotional connection is perfectly okay for the most part. But we've got to watch it in fellowship, providing of course that the person I'm attracted to is on an equal footing when it comes to sobriety. And I've said before, I'm a man in recovery, and I used to drink, and I drank to the point of no return. Is it any wonder I like women who have done exactly the same thing, and they are in recovery as well? We have a common ground and a common language, but we need to be on an equal footing, providing of course that the person I'm attracted to is on an equal footing when it comes to sobriety. Newcomers, in my opinion, need help and not to be desired by me, so I stay away or get one of my female friends to help female newcomers. The danger and the traps are there, provided by nature, and we need to be very careful in sobriety about why we do things. Whenever I feel that attraction for the newcomer, a woman who is vulnerable, and I'm a caring person, so it's natural to want to help. I have to be careful, which is why I get a female friend to help them. I know it's better to keep my distance and let go any notions for a good long time, if not forever. We are all of nature, and sometimes, although we think we can overcome our natural instinct, I don't see the need to challenge nature in such a way. So for me, when I have been asked by women to sponsor them, I say no. And they say, why? I say, because nature intended closeness and inclusion, and it's not right when it comes to sobriety. You need your 12 steps and your life back before that happens. We are all of nature, and sometimes, although we think we can overcome our natural instinct, I don't see the need to challenge nature in such a way. Right people do exist for each and every newcomer, and depending on nature, reality and fairness, integrity needs to win through, and acceptance that I am not always able to be the right person. Again, a friend. Anyway, final paragraph. Right people do exist for each and every newcomer, and depending on nature, reality and fairness, integrity needs to win through, and acceptance that I am not always, if ever, the right person to help in the right place at the right time. And this is important to me. To cherish and love people, it is always a good idea to check out motives and what we are doing. No single human ever helps another sober on their own, in my experience. It is always the many who make the difference today and every day in recovery. So I accept my nature, and because of my nature, when it comes to helping females in recovery of any age, because females of any age are attractive, I assure you, to men, I don't need to put that on the agenda as something I can do today. In fact, it's wrong for me to think that I can go against nature, even though my thinking, my pride and ego suggest that I can overcome that. But if I'm having to overcome something of that nature in order to help a person, I am going against nature, and I'm going against common sense and gumption. It's just the way it is. So those who feel that they can overcome that, there's still a pride and ego part going on there, and a fear that you can't just do that. Actually, I welcome the fear. Know the pride and ego can say, I can do this when I'm the wrong person. So courage, faith and confidence is that I can find a person to help rather than me. We are all equal, and we need to be equalised when it comes to helping people. So we help people as we may, not because we think we are the one for whatever reason. That's a pride ego thing. It would be for me anyway, so I don't want to do that. It'd be wrong for me to do it. I prefer to keep my nature humorous, chatty, flirty, and that's that. And apart from that, life is good. Life is good on every single day. There's something in there which just keeps it going, even when it's ugly and horrible sometimes. We are all affected by the impact of life, good, bad and ugly. So the serenity prayer at the end, which helps me any time, can do, can't do, wisdom to know the difference, helps me be even and equal, understand my nature and my motives, and be aware of my desires and needs as well. So I don't complicate sobriety by making it definitely complicated and trying to overcome natural stuff, natural instincts. So to God, the serenity prayer: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference will be just for today.